This week, we're gonna talk about Chaz and what's happening in Chaz. They have the most beautiful gardens segregated between the whites and blacks, and the most amazing dancers you have ever seen. Stick dancers, body dancers, everything, name it, they're there. They're so fun, they're so entertaining. They're thriving in that 6 blocks they call it America. Their gardens are immaculate. Look at that green. Their energy and vibes unmatched by any other country in the world. And the murals, take a look at these murals. They're so talented. Their talent is unmatched by any other country. Any other 6 blocks in this country. They successfully abolished the police in that area in which they are living. And guess what happened?
Someone is going to kill them.
Crime is running wild, and there are shootings and killings, and somebody was shot, sadly, and the other person is now in the hospital. So people are now taking advantage of the fact that they no longer have police to watch them, that they are just shooting up people that they don't like. There have been 3 shootings so far. In the 1 week Chaz was a thing. In the 6 blocks. Even when the police showed up to tend to the 2 that were shot, there was a line of protesters blocking them from getting to the injured people. How stupid is that? It's crazy.
This video captured by somebody in the chop zone shows the chaotic scene. It was around 2:30 in the morning when shots were fired. Police tried to respond to 911 calls, but were met with a crowd that pushed back, demanding that officers stay out.
People say that that man that has sadly passed probably could have been saved if the police got to him in time. But no, the protesters felt the need to block them because they don't like them. The crime rate in that country is astronomical. For the 1 week it has been opened, there is crime everywhere because people are taking advantage of the fact that the police are not going to go stop them. Although the police do not stop crimes right away because it takes time for them to get there and stuff, they are a deterrent to the criminals where they would think twice before committing the crime. They are there to protect. That is their sole purpose. And people are failing to recognize. Now people are dead. People are dying. The sole purpose of having the police there is to keep citizens safe from criminals and crime and stuff like that. And although there are a couple cops that unjustly kill people and murder people, a police reform would be more reasonable than disbanding the police altogether, and Chaz has showed us that disbanding the police will make crime go crazy. The crime could be down here in Chaz, but no, the crime is up here. That being said, we should not get distracted by everything going on. We shouldn't forget that Hillary is being exposed as a pedophile in her secret emails.
A D.C. District Court judge today ordered the deposition of Hillary Clinton in a Judicial Watch lawsuit. The former Secretary of State will have to answer questions under oath about her emails and Benghazi attack documents. Judge Royce Lamberth stated the following in his ruling, quote, "The State Department has thus failed to persuade the court that all of Secretary Clinton's recoverable emails have been located. This is unacceptable."
And that Joe Biden said that if you don't vote for him, you're not black.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
That is so racist, actually. And nobody's calling him a racist. Instead, Donald Trump is the racist. What does he do? Nothing but help.
Well, Chaz is certainly an interesting case to say the least. A lot of what they're doing can be attributed to the first and second fallen natures in multiple different ways. This could be said for Chaz, and this could be said for what's been happening recently with the disband the police and whatnot, but I'll get into that. The first fallen nature is failing to see from God's viewpoint, failing to understand why God does what he does, which most likely ends up on somebody doing something rash based on a lack of knowledge or lack of understanding. Second fallen nature is leaving your proper position, changing subject to object and object to subject, just leaving your position, or creating a new narrative that is separated from reality. On a surface level, Chaz is exhibiting both of these. They are failing to see from God's viewpoint, failing to see the importance that the police are actually doing for our society as a whole. They have taken rash decisions to make sure that there are no police in Chaz. And as you can see from the crime rates and the violence and shootings, that's what happens when you leave reality. That's what happens when you fail to see the importance of a system that is integral to America's well-being. Secondly, there have been armed people in Chaz. There's these armed people going around enforcing the Chazian laws or whatever, but they're still not able to do what the police are able to do. They have left their proper position and created their own law enforcement. So that's the surface level of first and second fallen nature. But on a deeper level, the first and second fallen nature is basically weaving a new narrative, creating a narrative away from reality. In other words, living in a delusion or creating a delusion. Clearly, we could see that the people living in Chaz aren't very grounded in reality. Any smart person would realize that Chaz just isn't going to work. But they are committed to their delusion, committed to this narrative that they don't need the police or any law inside their little area, and it's just a hellscape for anyone living in there who was previously living in that area of Seattle. They've taken this false narrative and they ran with it, creating a reality that is separate from the rest of America. Another instance where this delusion took place is 9/11. In 9/11, they painted the narrative that the Iraqis are the one that took down the Twin Towers and attacked America. Through this delusion, they gave the rest of the US Army the go-ahead to go and invade Iraq, which resulted in a multiple-year war. Without this painted narrative, without this delusion, there would be no reason for America to go and invade Iraq. But because they created this, now you have an artificial enemy. They antagonized something that wasn't meant to be our enemy in the first place. In this current situation, the group that they're antagonizing, the false narrative delusion that they're trying to weave here, is that the law enforcement system and the police need to be abolished or disbanded. They've taken a large percentage of America and caused them to antagonize the police, when really this wasn't a large-scale issue. Sure, there are some bad police, definitely there are some corrupt people within the system. Maybe it is some cause for reform, but not dismemberment or disbanding them. The majority of police encounters are completely harmless and actually helpful. They've taken this group that hasn't done much. Recently, they haven't been that bad. But with this current incident, they are causing police to resign or just not go into work due to the hostility that they would be getting. You have these police that are shooting in clear self-defense, but because this delusion is spinning around, now certain policemen have been charged for murder for defending themselves. Many normal policemen just can't deal with all the pressure and antagonization that is being concentrated towards the police. Now you have these normal policemen that don't feel safe in their own job, in their own work. The whole police system wasn't the problem. It was the bad cops that are within the police system. The first and second fallen nature are the acts of escaping reality and living in a delusion. My father would probably make a connection to the Matrix. These people who are living in a real world would much rather plug themselves back into a false reality where it's more comfortable for them. They'd rather live in the Matrix than live in reality. And that's what we're seeing in Chaz. Chaz is an attempt to escape reality itself. Chaz definitely is an interesting chapter in America's history. We can't allow America to fall into this grand scale delusion like they're doing in Chaz. And that's all I gotta really say about that.